So this is our final video for chapter 3. It's not going to be a very long one, I don't think, but I just couldn't fit this into the last one. So I have in here a lovely box plot of the participation rates by region, by U.S. Census region, for the SAT scores. So, for example, 10% of high school seniors in Alabama take the SATs, right? And that's in the ESC region, right down here. Okay, so you can see by region, from region to region, what percentage of students in that region take the SATs varies a lot. Okay, so Michigan, for example, where I live, is in the NSC, I believe. Yep, no, ENC, East North Central. So we're in this group right here. So we actually vary a lot in our group, right? Whereas the Mid-Atlantic states, right here, MA, most of those states are really heavy SATs, right? My state happens to be a bit more ACTs. Okay, so there we go. We've got this lovely box plot to read. So now we have to answer questions about it. So which region has an outlier? That would be SA. That's the South Atlantic region, right? What was its value? Well, you're just kind of eyeball it here, but it looks like it's about 20, right? 21, somewhere in there. Okay. What does that imply for that region? Well, the bulk, how about this? All of the states except for one really stress the SATs, right? So all the rest of the states, look at that. They're all above, what is that, 65, 64, somewhere in there. But stress the SAT, they're above 64%, right? Which means, like, you go to that state, 64% of the high school seniors take the SATs, okay? Except for that one state that only 21 or 20% of high school seniors take the SATs. Okay, which region has the largest range? That's a bit of a bad question, and I apologize. So if you look over here, so you're looking for the largest spread, and I think ENC is kind of obvious, ENC. If you measure it, you'd see, okay, it goes up to about 65, 66, and its lowest value is around 6. So if you take 66, 66 minus 6 gives us a range of about 60. Okay. Now, are there any other ones that have a range of about 60? And the answer is actually probably the one with the outlier, because of that outlier. So look at that high end of that whisker. It's about 80. And then, of course, the outlier is about 20. So actually, it's a trick question. SA also does that because it's 80 minus 20, right? Which is 60. So they both have ranges that are about 60. And now remember, to find the range, you want to find your highest point, which will be where your highest whisker ends. That's your highest point. And then your lowest point, and then subtract them, right? So this one's about 66. Take away 6. That's 60. This one's about 80 for the high point and 20 for the low point. So trick question. There's two regions that have the largest range. All right, which region has the largest participation rates overall? Let's see here. Oh, no question about it. It's MA right here. See how MA, that block, is the highest block of all of them? Or highest box, I should say, because these are box plots. So MA. It's higher box. Well, it's higher everything than the rest. Okay. All right, what is Q3 for the West South Central region? All right, so West South Central is these guys. Q3, remember how it goes. The bottom whisker is min, then the first line is Q1, then the next line is the median, then this line right up here where that box ends, that's Q3. And it looks like it's about 43, 42, somewhere in there. You're just kind of eyeballing it. 40 is down here, 45 is up there. So let me just say about 43. Right, 42 would also be fine. All right, what's the median for the region where Michigan is? Michigan is in East North Central, so the median, remember, is the middle line, the one that goes right through the middle of your gray box. That's your median. So it's about 10. Right? Technically, these are percents, right? Because it's 10% participation rate. All right, what is the IQR for the mountain region? All right, now remember, IQR, just for the sake of it, is Q3 minus Q1. All right, Q3 is where the box ends. That's the higher number. So kind of go over and it looks like it's about 32 or so. And then Q1 is where the box begins on the low end, right? So looks like it's about, well, 13. So 33, take away 13, so 20. And again, you're just eyeballing it. So if you'd said like 32 minus 13, that's fine. 3 minus 12, that's fine. You're just kind of, you want to be, within 1 or 2, right? It would be no good to say 35 because 35 is too high for this. But 32, 33, that's all okay. All right. Same box plot. I just drew it again because I didn't want you to have to flip back and forth. All right, what percent of the ENC schools, that's this guy right here, are between 10 and 47? So 10 looks like it's the median. 47 is right here. That's Q3. Okay, well, remember, the whole point of these box plots is they separate the data into 4 quarters. So 25% of the states are in that first little whisker. 25% of the states are in that first little bit of box. 25% of the states are in this bigger section of box, and then 25% of the states are in that big whisker at the end. So it's got to be 25% because there's 25% from here, here to there. That's 25%. Okay? All right, what percentage of WSC, I think that's West, South, Central, is above 42%. Okay, so 42, oh, see, I called it 42 there. It looks like it's 42 is the Q3. So what's above that? That's that whisker. Well, how much is in the whisker? By definition, it's 25%, right? Because each section on a box and whisker plot is worth 25%. That's the whole point of a box and whisker plot, is it separates out the 5 numbers for the 5-number summary. All right, several regions appear to be missing whiskers. In particular, MA is missing whiskers. Right in the top of the bottom, it doesn't have them. SA is really tiny whisker, but NE is also missing a whisker. See, there's no whisker on top. How does that happen? Well, what happens is, like for MA, it means that the min and the Q1 are the same number. That's how to get the lower whisker missing. To get the upper whisker missing, that means Q3 and max are the same number. It's actually pretty easy to do, and if you have a small data set, right? So, for example, let me just make up a number here. So if you had, well, let's look at this. For MA, it looks like the lower number is like 74 or something like that. So if you had 74, 74, 74, and then you had the other numbers of, I don't know, 80, 90, and so on. 80, 90, 91, etc. So what happens is that your min, which is 74, also is going to end up being your Q1, right? So they'll end up being the same, and you'll never lose a whisker. And then the high end looks like it's 91 for all of them. So that's what it would look like, right? So you'd end up having repeats, right? And your min and your Q1 end up being the same number, and your max and your Q3 just end up being the same number, right? And that's how you get whiskers to disappear on you, basically by having repetition at the lowest numbers and the highest numbers. All right. What does this graph reveal overall? And this is the big kind of question, right? This is the one that's worth a lot of points. So what does this show you about SAT participation rates in America? Well, it shows you a whole bunch. I mean, it shows you all sorts of stuff from region to region, and that's kind of the point. So one of the big ideas here is that SAT participation rates really vary a lot from region to region, right? The regions with the highest participation rates, if I could spell rates, are the MA, Mid-Atlantic, NE, the Northeast, and SA, South Atlantic. I wonder if there's a relationship there. Yes, there is, right? SATs, hold on. are created by the College Board, which is centered in Manhattan. Manhattan. Would you say that's in the Northeast? Yes, right, and close to the Mid-Atlantic? Sure. Right, so these ones have pretty high rates. Now, what about the PAC, right? That's the, hold on, PAC, Pacific, right? But it makes sense, right? Maybe California is really big in it or something like that. Okay. So East North Central, where I happen to live in Michigan, it's got a lot of variability. So East North Central and West South Central, the central, right? The Midwest essentially has a lot of variation, right? So the two Midwest regions, the two big Midwest regions of East North Central and was it West South Central, have a lot of variability. Okay. Regions tend to be, right, other than those two, other than ENC and WSC, tend to be very similar from state to state. What do I mean by that? Well, other than the one in the beginning at the one in the end, look at how small these box and whisker plots are. That means there's not a lot of variability going on. I mean, if you're living in this region, you're not taking the SATs as a general rule. And if you live in this region, the Mid-Atlantic region, you're taking the SATs, right? There's just not a lot of variability in those states. The one's exceptions, obviously, ENC, WSC, and the only other one is this one with the outlier. And MTN Mountain has got a little bit of variability, but the outlier, if you ignore the outlier, then the rest of them are all exactly alike. Okay? And I could go on, right? Etc. Because you could keep going and going. I mean, you can keep parsing apart, things like this. You can say, look, this entire Mid-Atlantic region is higher than the lowest state in the Mid-Atlantic region is higher than the highest state in the ENC region, right? The lowest state or the highest state in the mountain region is lower than the highest, or excuse me, the lowest state in the Pacific region, and so on, right? There's some overlap between these three regions, and then there's Pacific, and then there's all these ones down here. I mean, you could go on and on and on and on. And that's what's really important, right? Can you read a graph like that and really pull out some big ideas, some big trends? That's going to be important for you. All right, we are done with chapter 3. I will see you back here on YouTube for chapter 4.